What's up everyone, I'm Mo from Time Off Audio. Today we're going to go through an overview of our transient processor, DimeTT. As you've guessed, the TT stands for transient and tonal. DimeTT splits the transient and tonal components of an incoming audio signal and lets you process them independently with any VST3 or audio unit plugin. Think of it as a transient designer on steroids, and as a way to break free from any limitations you've been subject to in other transient designers. It's part of our Dime bundle, along with Dime MS, the mid-side processor, and Dime MB, the multi-band processor. So make sure to check those out while you're here. But for now, let's jump into DimeTT. The first time you open the plugin, what you will want to do is ensure that the plugins on your system are detected by DimeTT. This is done through the plugin manager, where you'll be able to scan all of the VST3 plugins and audio unit plugins if you're on macOS that are on your system. Now, if you've already done this either on Dime MS or Dime MB, all of the plugins will already be here and you won't need to go through the setup. Now that the scan has completed, I can see that I have all of these plugins from my system now in DimeTT. Note that if you have many hundreds or thousands of plugins in your computer, you probably want to only scan the few plugins or the collection of plugins that you plan on using in DimeTT because this process can take quite a while to complete. Let's take a look at the interface. In the header, you have the transient detection controls. These will let you dial in two elements of transient detection. First is the sensitivity. The higher, the more transients will be captured. And second, we have the decay, where the higher the decay, the longer the transient envelope will take to fade after detection. We also have the plugin manager, which we just saw now. Then the settings, where you'll be able to access display settings, such as UI scale, toggle between brutalist and precise waveform modes, then license information, and generic plugin info, like the plugin version. If a new version of the plugin is available, you will see that here as well. Then we have light and dark mode, because it's 2026. And finally, the bypass button, which is a global bypass for the entire plugin. The main view in the UI is built around DimeTT's two components, transient and tonal. The boxes on the left are the plugin slots, and we have 4 per component. This is where you load your third-party plugins. The headphone button lets us solo that section individually so that you can addition both the detection and the processing of the chain. In the middle, we have the waveform view, which lets us visualize what's happening with our audio. On the right, you have the balance control. You'll be using this a lot. It biases the blend of transient and tonal signals before they're mixed back together. If you want more punch on the vocal, more attack on the snare, or more click on your kick, you will bias towards the transients. If you want to de-emphasize transients and soften the dynamics, you can bias towards the tonal. On the left, you have the parameter mappings panel. These let you control parameters of the hosted plugins without opening each plugin's UI individually. You map sliders in DimeTT to any parameter of any hosted plugin and tweak it directly from there. Finally, in the footer, we have the output level meter plus the global controls, the input gain, the output gain, and the mix, which lets us blend DimeTT's process signal with the dry input signal. Let's dive into the signal path. DimeTT's main input signal first goes through the input gain before landing in the transient splitter. The splitter creates 2 complementary signals that can be reconstructed back together while preserving phase and magnitude. Each of these signals is fed into its dedicated effects chain. The processing of each chain can be blended in via the mix slider. Before the 2 signals are merged back together, the signal with the lowest processing latency will be delayed to match the signal with the highest latency, ensuring that they're perfectly aligned and merged transparently. Finally, this merged signal can be blended with the dry input signal. Then we have the sidechain signal. DimeTT accepts a sidechain bus, which it routes to all of the hosted plugins that support a sidechain input. The signal is also latency compensated, ensuring that it arrives perfectly aligned with the main signal into each hosted plugin. I hope you enjoy our plugin, and happy mixing, happy producing.